The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in Mumbai. That marks his first visit to India since taking over as the new British Prime Minister since 2024. He kicked off Britain's largest ever trade mission to India with a witty in-flight address from the cockpit. He's got more than 125 business leaders and executives on board. It is the largest business delegation that any British Prime Minister has brought to India. But his mid-air message was a symbolic takeoff for what London hopes to be a major economic partnership with New Delhi. The two-day visit by Keir Starmer will see Prime Minister Modi and him take stock of the progress made across all aspects of the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. They've also outlined a Vision 2035, which is a 10-year roadmap alongside the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, which was signed just a few months ago back in July when Prime Minister Modi was in London. Our Siddhant Mishra is down in Mumbai where all the formal meetings will happen tomorrow. But today was Keir Starmer's first day out in Mumbai. He brings you an update.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is on a two-day visit to India. He landed in Mumbai this morning. He was given red carpet welcome by the Indian government. In fact, from the airport to the hotel, on both sides of the road, hoardings, billboards have been put welcoming Prime Minister Starmer and the delegation travelling with him. He is travelling with 125 delegates, the top executives of the top multinational companies in Britain. Perhaps the idea is to give push to trade and investment. As far as his today's engagements are concerned, he went to the Yash Raj studios, and in fact a small film was also screened at the Yash Raj studio for Prime Minister Starmer and delegation. In fact, Yash Raj production house has announced 3 films to be shot in UK, perhaps, which will create more jobs, more opportunities. After which Prime Minister Starmer went to the Cooperage ground, which is famous for football matches. In fact, he did participate in a small event organized by English Premier League. Later in the day, EM S. Jaishankar called on Prime Minister Starmer. Now, tomorrow is a day for business. He will hold delegation level and restricted level talks with Prime Minister Modi at Raj Bhavan. In fact, this will be followed by the press statement by both the leaders.
So the big thing was, of course, the India-UK FTA, which was signed back in July when the Prime Minister was there in London. It not only enhances market access, but also protects certain sensitive sectors. It's poised to generate substantial economic benefits across a range of industries, while also deepening strategic ties. Here's a sector-wise sort of look at the gains that India could potentially look at after the FTA has been signed. The current UK tariffs of anywhere between 8 to 16% will be eliminated by and large. It'll be brought down to zero or near zero for a bulk of the products, more than 90% of them. This is expected to boost exports from key textile hubs like Tirupur, Surat and Ludhiana. Some beneficiary companies will be companies like Wellspun India, Arvind Limited. There will be zero duty access, which will benefit manufacturers in Agra, Kanpur as well as Chennai. It will also benefit companies like Bata India and Relaxo. These are footwear manufacturers and who export to the UK. Also, Indian electric vehicle manufacturers and hybrid car makers, whether it's Tata Motors or Mahindra, and Mahindra particularly their electric divisions, will benefit from reduced import tariffs into the UK as well as preferential quotas for Indian car manufacturers. The removal of British duties, the duties that have been imposed in the UK, up to 16%, will aid exporters, particularly from Gujarat and Maharashtra. The zero tariffs to benefit companies like Bharat Forge and others who specialize in auto components and engineering goods will also be a significant marker. There will be improved access for Indian pharma companies to the British market. Reduced or zero tariffs will provide an export boost to furniture, to toys, sports goods manufacturers, chemicals and machinery.
Well, Starmer arrived on a plane packed with business leaders, as we saw, and of course, as he made sure we would, and that was even before he left London here. It was a show, really, that he means business, and he means it for Britain, of course, but he means it also for his own political survival. His ratings have hit a record low. He is not a popular figure, or what is more, he's not particularly popular within his Labour Party, and Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham upstaged him at the Labour Party conference that just concluded. So now there is that to worry about specifically, even if not immediately. Starmer's ratings, in fact, fell further after that party conference. So from the opposition, he certainly doesn't have the Conservative Party to worry about, but that's no reassurance. The danger from outside Labour now really primarily and heavily is the Reform Party led by Nigel Farage, and Farage leads Starmer currently by 5 points now as the preferred Prime Minister 31 to 26, and Tory leader Kemi Badenoch is third at 18. Starmer is a jittery leader now. He never really took off after that early scandal about those free suits and glasses and whatnot. He needs a success story now to show off, and he wants that very much to be this visit to India.
Well, we'll get to the domestic implications of what Starmer is trying to achieve at a time when there's rising anti-immigrant rhetoric in the UK. But he also visited, by the way, Yash Raj Studios alongside a delegation from some of Britain's biggest film bodies as Yash Raj Studios completes 20 years of operations in India. He announced that the leading Indian film production and distribution company will make 3 of its major productions to locations across the United Kingdom starting early 2026, and that could potentially create up to 3,000 jobs and boost the economy of the UK by millions of pounds.
You were on flight with Prime Minister Starmer this morning. What was the feeling like? Explain to us the vibe, the energy on flight, and the kind of welcome which has been extended by India to Prime Minister Starmer.
Prime Minister Starmer is now like a film star. Every place I look at right now, it's got his photographs. He was joking with me in the morning today to say he should think about a stint in Bollywood. So he feels very welcome. We feel very welcome. And no one slept on the plane. There was so much energy and so much excitement.
So just, putting this into context as to why Starmer needs this India visit so badly, because remember, Prime Minister was just in London a few months ago. The historic UK-India FTA was signed just a few months ago. But the reason why Starmer needs this visit so badly is because his domestic ratings have really plummeted. If elections were to be held today in the UK, and he's been in office just a little over a year, but if elections were to be held in the UK today, Starmer will lose. Nigel Farage of Reform UK, which is not that old a party, it came around during the Brexit time, so it's less than 10 years old. He and his party will be the number one party. He would likely be the next Prime Minister if elections were held today. And a big reason for that is there's a massive anti-immigrant sentiment that is rising across the UK, and no political party, whether it is Reform or Labour or the Tories, the traditional Conservatives, none of them can be seen or afford to be seen as on the other side of this anti-immigrant rhetoric that is really passing through British politics right now. So that's why Starmer needs the India visit. I'm going to put that into context for you with a little explainer. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government has been under intense pressure from scores of its own members to demonstrate more robust support for the Palestinians. But a terrorist attack at a synagogue last week in Manchester, which led to the death of 2 people during prayer services on Yom Kippur, one of the holiest holidays for the Jewish community, that has now exposed a competing political reality for the British Prime Minister. There is growing anger among Jews in Britain who believe that Starmer's government is doing far too little to protect them from the rising hate and the rising anti-Semitism. The Manchester police have said that the synagogue attack was carried out by a man named Jihad al-Shami, who's a British citizen of Syrian origin. They say that he was influenced by what they describe as the extreme Islamist ideology.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews, and attacked Britain because of our values. So many Jewish families first came to this country as a place of refuge, fleeing the greatest evil ever inflicted on a people. And Britain welcomed them. Communities like the one attacked in Manchester provided safety, but also the security that comes from a promise that this is a country that stands up to hatred, and that we don't just provide refuge, we provide a home.
The anger at Starmer's government was especially evident during a vigil that happened Friday for the victims of the synagogue terrorist attack. David Lammy, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, virtually the number 2 in Starmer's cabinet, was booed off the stage by a crowd that angrily chanted, "Shame on you."
Shame on you! Shame on you!
They loudly demanded that Starmer government stop all these pro-Palestinian marches, saying that they instill fear in the minds of Jewish residents. On Saturday, there was a massive protest in London against the British government and its ban of a pro-Palestinian group. That rally went ahead despite a formal request from the London Metropolitan Police to cancel it. More than 300 people had been arrested for holding signs which supported Palestine action. On Sunday, there was a separate rally, a counter-rally of sorts in Trafalgar Square, honouring those who were taken hostage during the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel. It called on Hamas to release all the remaining hostages, which is the first point of the Trump peace plan, which Hamas has now agreed to. Tuesday marks the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas attack in Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed. These two back-to-back rallies over the weekend, one in support of an independent Palestine, the other in support of the abducted Jewish hostages, just a day apart, mark just how starkly divided Britain is on the issue of the war on Gaza, and also, by consequence, whether the support or the hate that is directed at Israel and the Jewish community at large.
Today is a day to remember the deaths of over 1,000 people 2 years ago, and that is, of course, terrible. But if that is terrible, what is killing perhaps as many as 200,000 people in Gaza since then? And those are murders not just created by a separate state from Britain, but actively supported by this country in terms of diplomatic support, military support, sending weapons. The RAF and other military sections of the British society have been supporting what's been happening in Gaza, and it's not what the British people want, it's not what these students want, and it's absolutely outrageous.
Keir Starmer rose to power in the Labour Party by pledging to rid its ranks of anti-Semitism that had flourished under his predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn. Eager to repair his relationship with Britain's nearly 300,000 Jewish voters, when he was elected Prime Minister back in 2024, Starmer said in his acceptance speech that anti-Semitism was a stain on his party, and he vowed to tear out this poison from its roots. But a year plus later, the pressure and the politics on Starmer has completely shifted. There are about 4 million Muslims in Britain right now, and the 2-year war between Israel and Hamas has galvanized them as the death toll in Gaza has now gone upwards of 65,000.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
Starmer at the recent UN General Assembly formally recognized a Palestinian state. This happened last month, a step which many pro-Palestinian activists said was too slow in coming. More than 250 British members of parliament from 9 different political parties, including Starmer's party, the Labour Party, signed a letter urging Britain to recognize Palestinian statehood. Britain joined France, Canada, and Australia as some of the leading Western countries to recognize an independent Palestine. But Starmer is facing increasing pressure from the right, which has now manifested itself into multiple political parties with their various iterations. The most popular politician on the right happens to be Nigel Farage of Reform UK, who's a populist right-winger, much like Donald Trump in the United States. 2 months ago, Farage unveiled a plan where he said he would deport up to 600,000 illegal immigrants out of Britain if his party, Reform UK, is voted to power in the next elections in 2029. Multiple polls have shown that Nigel Farage is the most popular politician in Britain right now, and immigration, illegal immigration, is the #1 hot-button issue. And right on cue, the new leader of the Conservative Party, or the Tories as they're known, the traditional opposition party in Britain, Kemi Badenoch, has unveiled a similar plan where she says that the Tories would deport up to 150,000 illegal immigrants out of Britain every year for the next 4 years if they're voted to power. The fact that this was announced by a black woman, Kemi Badenoch happens to be a black woman who's the leader of the Conservative Party, whose parents moved to the UK to birth her. She then grew up in Lagos in Nigeria and then moved to Britain only after she became a teenager at 16 years old. The fact that she was talking about deporting illegal immigrants, a majority of whom are people of color, that was an irony that was not lost on anyone. It's a reflection of a broader hardening of the debate around immigration in Britain. It's happening not just on the fringes of the political stream, but also within mainstream political parties, whether it's Reform, whether it's the Tories, or even within Labour Party. And no politician, not even the Prime Minister, can be immune to this immigration debate that is rampaging across Britain. Or the Prime Minister or any other mainstream politician, neither can they afford to sit on the sidelines of this, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister in waiting.